On Monday, Senator Han was involved in bringing forth his so-called free market exchange bill solution, and that will go forward as with, I think, further discussion and understanding that comes with that in this whole exchange process as we go forward. Capital Investment Committee continues to meet. In fact, we did this morning over to University of Minnesota. Senate Finance Committee, as you probably know, had some what we call anti-shutdown bills dealing with Minskew, the zoo, and electrical contractors. I think in every respect, bills that are important should we ever find the state into a shutdown situation again. This is going to, I think, preclude some things which honestly shouldn't have been shut down. And there will be more along these things, lines like Canterbury, like the beer issue, and so on and so forth. So there'll be a series of anti-shutdown bills going forward as we look into the future. Senate Tax Committee dealt with military retirement pay subtraction with respect to taxes on that, marriage penalty, and capital equipment exemptions. On Tuesday, in the Environmental and Natural Resources Committee, there was a lot of discussion about wolves and wolf hunting, and Senator Gazelka's got a bill there that's moving forward. Senator John Carlson dealt with the invasive species, proposing to put $1 million towards additional research facilities at the University of Minnesota to study that. It's an important matter as we go forward. Looking just ahead, on Monday we'll be having a freedom to work, right to know, or right to work rather, a hearing here at the Capitol on Senator Thompson's bill. We also, and let me go back last week, certainly a difficult day for all of us was Senator Gary Kubley and what happened to him, of course, during the course of the last week or so, and his passing was hard on all of us. We had a good and very appropriate day at his funeral in terms of remembering Gary. He's a dear friend of all of us. His memory lingers and will forever in my heart. So we absolutely miss him. I'm not sure what's happening with respect to a general election on that one yet, but we'll have to see as the governor makes his decisions. Just looking forward, we'll continue to meet in capital investment next week, and the Senate Commerce Committee has a variety of bills on liquor, and so that's what will be in the Senate next week. It'll be liquor, freedom to work, and continuing work on capital investment and certainly other issues.
Is the ID coming up on the floor next week?
We don't have it contemplated yet. We met as a caucus yesterday, as frankly a Rules Committee caucus, and discussed it. We're going to be bringing that along relatively quickly. We just don't have a date yet.
Are you going to give word on it, or are you just going to bring it out?
Beg pardon?
Are you going to give word on it, or are you going to just bring it up?
Oh, no. There'll be a hearing in the Rules Committee. Yeah.
All right. The big news from last week in the House was Representative Garofalo, Chair Garofalo's introduction of the shift repayment bill. I think something that a lot of people have talked about. We've heard from a lot of constituents, not only Republicans, Democrats, Independents, but from a financial standpoint, a positive thing to do for our schools. We moved the permit streamlining, something that a lot of us share, including Senator Bach and I share a real urgency on that, looking at it from a standpoint of so that you don't have to go back to go each and every time there's a hang-up with one portion of your permit. That's going to move to the floor next week. The rulemaking reform is also working its way through the process. We heard mayoral control and parent petition in the education committees again. Could be coming up next week. Name the conferees for LIFO. That's Peterson, Downey, Erickson, Woodard, and Mariani. And then the photo ID bill passed out of Gov Ops, I believe it was, last night. Next week, we'll have floor sessions Monday, Wednesday, Thursday again. First committee deadline, so expect far more committee time than floor time. We will be down on the floor for some bills, but again, this is deadline week, so you'll see a lot more there. The K-12 shift will be up in tax committee. The property tax relief will also be in taxes on Tuesday. Monday's K-12 shift. Third-party audits will be up in the HHS finance, and then PSEO and higher ed will be up Thursday. Moving a lot of things from committee through the committees to the floor. So yes, you'll probably see some. I don't know if we'll break our 5-minute, 30-second record, but we'll try to be in and out of session very quickly to get the committees moving. And let me finish by saying it's so delightful to see all of you here.
When's permitting up?
Permitting, move to the floor. I don't know if we have it up. I don't think we've decided which day it'll be on the floor yet, but it'll be up. It'll be up next week.
Will the House follow the Senate's lead and have a hearing on right to work?
We haven't caucused it yet, but when we do, we will let you know. We caucus next week. Any questions?
Mr. Speaker, is your hope that you'll-
What's that?
is your hope that you'll hold a hearing on it?
We'll find out after we talk to our members. We haven't set that yet. We have caucuses Monday, Wednesday, usually of the week. Wednesday being the longest one, but doesn't mean that we don't. It'll all depend on committee schedules too. It's deadline week, so we're pushing a lot of stuff through committees, spending a lot of time. Some of these committees are taking a little longer than anticipated. So,
You previously said that you didn't think there was I think your words were, you didn't think there was a fever for the right to work bill. Is that changing in light of the Senate's
well,
action?
and thank you for the opportunity. That was in reference to a headline, and it was for all constitutional amendments, and there was a raft of them. I think there was 8 or 10 being discussed. I think we've probably shown now through what has been going through committees and what has been heard in committees and on the House floor, contrary to what the minority leader may say, it is policy, it is reform bills. It's our Reform 2.0 agenda that has been moving through the process, not the constitutional amendments. So what I have said is that there was some reference that these constitutional amendments were going to dominate session. They haven't. The Reform 2.0 agenda has, moving bills that are going to help our economy, help private sector job growth, help relieve some headaches and hassles for a lot of our business owners. So that was the reference. It wasn't just for right to work. It was for this raft of constitutional amendments that were supposedly going to dominate the session. They have not. It has been hard work on LIFO, on permitting, on streamlining. Now the education shift. There'll be some property tax or tax relief bills that are going to be in tax committee this week. That's been the focus of the session, and that was the reference. It wasn't just to right to work.
So how many do you think it's likely that we'll get out? Is photo ID still a given, maybe right to work? Are we looking at 1, 2 amendments maybe?
Like I said, photo ID is the one that, Dave and I, or Majority Leader and I have said that's the one that has the best chance right now and has moved through the process. After that, again, it's going to be up to our members, but, and it isn't exactly exciting, but permitting streamlining is what we hear from business community members and business owners all across the state. So that is our first push to get that through the committee process, get it to the floor and get it to the governor's desk, or to get it to conference committee. So if there are things that we need to work on there with the governor, that's far more important to me and to our members and to business owners in the state.
Is there still any chance the governor can slow down photo ID, even though he doesn't have to touch it? He had the press conference yesterday with the Secretary of State on the poll books. Could that be an alternative or no way?
I didn't see the press conference. It was kind of a busy day yesterday, so I didn't see the press conference. But again, this is something we offered a solution last year, a legislative solution last year, with some things in it that the governor had asked for. Disclosure, great. I'm actually for all that stuff. So we tried the legislative strategy. We approached him. We spent a lot of time on it throughout the session last year. There was a lot of extra time after session. So this is what we believe is the next route for us.
Mr. Speaker, the lead House person on this, Representative Kittmeyer, and Senator Lee, not the lead senator at this point, but Senator Limmer said yesterday, they both indicated that we need to get that constitutional amendment passed, and then we'll work out the details. Question I have for you is, how are Minnesotans going to know what they get, whether they get a photo ID requirement or whether they get the governor's poll book? How will they know what they're voting for this fall? If you, in fact, decide, as it looks like, you're going to put that amendment on the ballot.
The language is very clear on the ballot. Should you be required to show a photo ID when you vote? I mean, that's the enacting language that follows. Yes, is a little more difficult, but that's the essence. And it is, the enacting language will maybe be a little bit more detailed, but it isn't any more complicated than that.
I should maybe state my question a little more clearly, because at least Senator Limmer, and I think from Senator Kittmeyer, or from Representative Kittmeyer's remarks as well.
Freudian slip, that's where she's going.
They indicated that perhaps the governor's, at least Senator Limmer indicated perhaps the governor's poll book is one option that could be considered. It sounds like not from what you're saying, Mr. Speaker.
Well, none of this has been resolved yet, I would say. I do know from discussions yesterday that as the photo ID amendment does come forward, there will be discussion within the framework of that discussion that deals with some of the options that might be available, and the poll book may be one of them. And there are obviously others, but that kind, I think some ideas will start emerging as that discussion occurs. So we're not going to probably know for sure this year. The enacting language is generally left till next year. So, but I think we want to give the voters some idea as to what the thoughts of the legislature are.
But is our poll books fundamentally different than photo ID in the sense that if you have the question on the ballot that says photo ID required, is it then being misrepresented to voters if ultimately the enabling legislation goes along the line of poll book or something else?
It's not impossible that the poll book certainly could be an option, or frankly, it could be in the end the approach to all this.
So would you
It is a picture. It is a book. You do sign it. If the picture looks like you, you're probably the person. So I mean, it's an option.
But would you change the question as it's stated to voters, or is that going to go on there just as photo ID? Or will you say photo ID or something?
The question's the question. I don't think that's going to change, and that is the people of Minnesota, want some sort of photo ID application applied to the voting process.
Question for both of you. If there's a stadium bill Monday, what committees would you expect to hear it, and does it need to be through all the policy committees by Friday?
No. I would expect at least it would start in local government and on the Senate side, and we'll have the rest of the session to deal with that. It will have met a deadline, presumably. Maybe it doesn't, but if it passes out of committee, it will have met a deadline.
Will you start those hearings next week, or on the stadium bill?
I haven't talked to Senator Vanderveer, but I would certainly believe that we would. Obviously, we want to give the bill a chance to meet deadline.
One of the publications says you signed on as a co-author.
Senator Bach and I both signed off as co-authors. Maybe give the bill, I don't know, some leadership perspective on that. Again, the bill is the bill. Most of us don't know the fine nuances in it. I do know, and you probably will know yourself, that the whole issue of electronic poll tabs is still in question. The Allied Charities people are pretty concerned about it from the standpoint of the effect on local charities, and so are we. So those things are what hearings are for, and it will be, those issues, those questions will be fleshed out, and answers will have to be applied.
Senator, the goal is to get it through one committee by Friday. Is that what you're saying?
Well, certainly give one committee a chance to vote up or down on it, yes. I'm not sure, nobody can predict what the vote's going to be.
Mr. Leader, just before we go over to the speaker, if we could just be real clear.
Sure.
So as far as you're concerned, if it passes out of one policy committee in the Senate, it has met deadline?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
And in the House, it'll probably start in the Commerce Committee. And again, that's presuming that there will be a bill. We were supposed to have a bill this Monday. I hate to be kind of a stickler on that, but that's how this process works, is we've got to have a bill. So it will start in Commerce Committee. I think after that, it's either Gov Ops or local government where it would go. So, but again, if it passes Commerce, it is made one committee.
Will you be a co-author?
No, I will not.
Why not?
I personally don't believe in funding for Viking Stadium. I didn't vote for the Twins bill. Doesn't mean that it won't get a fair trial, get a fair hearing in the process. But I'm also not going to say how I'm going to vote before I see a bill either.
How about the majority leader?
You'll have to ask the majority leader.
Mr. Speaker,
Did you not get a chance to see the bill like the majority leader here did?
I haven't seen the bill yet, so I don't know if it's finished or not. I mean, not a dig against the authors or anything. We had kind of a busy day and a really busy week. I mean, Senator Senjem and I were at Senator Kubley's funeral and been kind of traipsing all around the state. So it's not as if it's anything. I wasn't avoided, because of personality or lack of charisma, and obviously he is.
On the video gaming issue, do you have a sense yet in the bill what kind of bonds are backing those up? Are those revenue or appropriation bonds at this point? Do they have to be appropriation bonds?
And I haven't gotten that deep into it, but I would believe appropriation bonds, yeah.
Here's my question about it. Does that mean that if the money from video poker doesn't come in like we anticipated would be, that the state would be picking up the rest of that?
I don't think it would get that far. I think if the committee process identifies that this is a problem, I think the bill sort of goes on hold until that problem can be resolved.
Will we know though with any difference? I mean, it sounds like.
Well, we're going to have to try to get that answer early on next week, yes. Or frankly, it depends on which committee, if whether local government takes up that question or state government does, because they're more into the gaming side. But that question is going to have to be answered.
Just to follow up on that.
Yeah.
Is there a backup plan, funding plan, besides equal tabs or something to back this up besides?
Not at this point. Obviously, something would probably emerge, whether you back it up with Block E, Racino, or it certainly wouldn't be the general fund. That's unequivocally, I think, appropriate to say. We're not going to put general fund money into this. Yeah.
Charitable gambling revenues go into the general fund, so aren't they would have gone into the general fund. I realize electronic is a new flow of money, but would have gone to the general fund, right? So it is general fund money. I mean, I guess it's semantic, but.
We'll have to look at the bill. It's conceivable that there's a special revenue account established within the bill for the electronic pull tab portion of the gambling. And I say that without knowing. But again, the details are to be resolved. And if the details can't get resolved, including the Minneapolis City Council issue, the bill goes pretty slow.
Are you going to require a vote from that council before there's a vote on the floor on this bill? Either of you?
We haven't talked about that yet, and I need to talk to Senator Vanderveer about that a little bit. I'm sure it will be a consideration in terms of presuming the bill goes his direction, how he wants to handle it.
Senator, you said you had questions about the e-poll tab.
Yep.
What questions do you have? You said we have questions.
Well, I have collectively that people talk about that. Everybody has a life experience. My life experience back home is that people say, I'm not sure about these. I'm not sure that people want to give up the little, traditional pull tab for a electronic device that maybe takes a little bit of the social atmosphere out of the situation. And how popular it would be? Are the bars going to be able to want to afford them? There going to be some cost that is over and above what they do for paper. So those are considerations. We just hear from back home that this may be a little problematic right now.
So you don't trust the revenue note?
I don't know if I do or not. We have to. I think look to other states. How popular have these been in other states? Have they been successful? I think we have to frankly ask our gaming managers across Minnesota to bring their input into this question. They will know more firsthand than we do whether or not they think these can be successful.
Does the bill then, as it's written, cut the taxes on like the charities have said they have to have?
My understanding, it doesn't. And my understanding is that is in part why the charities are having these concerns.
And it's part of the problem, Senators, as well, that there's a concern on the part of charities that they will simply just lose enough of it, that a lot of that revenue will be taken away from them.
Well, there again, I don't think the bill will get that far. If we see charities back home getting shorted, I think that's a timeout on this. So I don't simply believe we'll get that far. But that's what the hearing process is for, to flesh out these questions, to try to get answers.
As an author, you don't seem very enthusiastic about this bill, though.
Well, you do it. I'm enthusiastic from a personal point of view because we have a Vikings bill. Now we can work it.
Mr. Speaker, do you think that the Speaker of the House can vote against a bill of this size and still pass and be hung over?
Again, until you see the bill and until you see the final product that hits the floor, it's a what if. The the part about the charitable pull tabs, for me, it's not charitable pull tabs, it's the e-pull tabs, but it's also linked bingo, which is another part of this that will generate revenue. I dealt blackjack and sold pull tabs to pay for my college. So this is a personal thing for me. I worked for the ARC. I helped a lot of kids get homes, get clothes, get transportation. So these charities around the state are not just a source of revenue, with all due respect to the stadium. This is about helping people who buy defibrillators, who pay for ice time, who help fund ambulances, who help fund a lot of community activities, no matter where it is, whether it's Rochester or Osseo or the Maple Grove Hockey Association. And at the end of the day, if they're spending hundreds of thousands, in some cases millions of dollars, at the end of the day, if you give $20,000 to a charity, or to give, I mean, that wasn't the idea when this started. And oh, by the way, pay them up front. So what this was meant to do was to reduce those tax rates to the point, and it's also the combined receipts. So, and this is a little more boring maybe than you want, but say you're Osseo and there's a bar in Maple Grove that's really busy that gets all kinds of traffic and sells hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of pull tabs. And then there's a smaller bar in Osseo that sees maybe 20 or 30,000. Because they're part of that same association, they're all at that top tax rate. So they may not produce, that one site may absolutely lose money and actually owe money versus producing for the charity. So I think that's probably where if anybody's a little Gerspilkish here, it's about, if you don't bring in the revenue, if you don't have that, the charitable relief, you're going to lose charities. And then if you lose the charities, there's no revenue, no matter whether it goes into the general fund, whether it goes into a special revenue fund. So where I think folks are getting, again, very nervous about this is you've got to be prepared for if the tax relief isn't there. And oh, by the way, there's also a little bit of increase in rent for the bar owners that have had, yes, some revenue reductions because of the smoking ban. They would say maybe it's downturn in the economy, but that's also to make sure that our American Legions and VFWs have the ability. So, from that standpoint, I know that's a long ways from where your question was, but that's about the charities.
My question was, in 2006, Speaker Swigum, Senate Majority Leader Dean Johnson, and Governor Pawlenty had to work overtime to get the bill passed. Are you going to focus on trying to do that to get the Twins bill passed, or the Vikings Stadium bill passed?
Again, what we've said all along, and I think you can see now by, if we have the bill on Monday, there's be a Commerce Committee hearing. We're going to give them a fair process, and it is up to the advocates, as we've said all along. The advocates are going to be the ones that will get 68 votes in the House, 34 from the Democrats, 34 from the Republicans. From my perspective, again, I'm never going to say in advance where I'm going to vote on a bill before you see the final product, but I'm also not going to sign on to the bill, and I don't sign on to a lot of bills. Sometimes it's for a good reason, so I don't bring the bill down because people won't vote for it because it's my name versus an average member, but there's some things that I don't believe in, so I don't sign on to them.
Mr. Speaker, for the average,
Hold on, do you consider yourself an advocate for this stadium?
This is for the stadium? No.
Mr. Speaker, just for the average person, is your concern that electronic pull tabs is going to pull revenue away from charitable fundraising in Minnesota? Is that kind of the broad picture?
No, that's what it's actually there to help them. One of the things they have been experiencing because of that high tax rate and because of, again, some would say the smoking ban, I would, it has diminished a little bit of the traffic that are going to be there. This is another option, again, along with linked bingo, which don't forget about bingo. It's part of this as well, and it is actually pretty popular. So it increases the ability of larger pots. So when you're playing, you're not playing for $50, you're maybe playing for $250 or something like that. So no, this bill was meant to help. And Representative Kriesel, who's the author of the bill, one of his charities in his district is very close to deciding we're doing this just to push paper. We're not making any money for the charity. We're just producing a whole bunch of paper. We're paying a bunch of taxes. We're paying rent. We're not actually giving something to a charitable organization, which charitable gambling, by definition, should be doing.
So to be clear, without the tax relief, this does not, in your opinion, this does not help the charities and bars?
Yeah, I mean, the tax relief is meant to keep them in business, but also...
Deal with the yes or no. Without tax relief, this will not, in your opinion, this will not help the charities
No.
and bars?
No.
Now you can go on if you want.
No, that's fine.
We can do another topic before
Sure.
you go.
Sure.
Can you address the calls for resignation for one of your members, Representative Mary Franzen, and the video that she made last week?
Well, I think it's, again, there was a speech on the floor yesterday about things that were covered and things that weren't covered. And, people make mistakes. It's, sometimes they end up on video, probably now more than ever. She's apologized. She's apologized back home to her constituents. I think that's good enough for me, and I stand by her.
Did she make a mistake?
Well, that's what she said. I will take her at her word.
Do you think she made a mistake?
Yeah. She admitted to it, and she said, I'm sorry, and we move on. God help us for everybody here who makes a mistake is each time is told to resign from their office
Senator
or
Senjem
job.
mentioned invasive species. There's a number of provisions in various bills going on in the legislature. For both of you, what do you expect to be done on that issue this session? Carp issue in particular.
Sure. Well, there's certainly a proposal for some money in the bonding bill. We're certainly looking at that from the standpoint of applying it. Obviously, you know the story. This is a very serious matter for the state of Minnesota in terms of our natural resources, our fisheries, our tourism industry. So I think we really have to give it a good long look. And maybe the problem for most of us is we're not experts in this field, and it seems like there are few experts. So what is the right modality? Are they dams? Are they electric devices? What might they be? Certainly in terms of the fish and then the aquatic, the plant-like invasive species. That's a little better understood. And so there's, for instance, in the bonding proposals, the money for these washdown sites at various DNR locations where you wash your boat down with hot water and not only wash the plant off, but kill any plant residual which might be there with just hot water.
Senator, I see the judiciary on Monday has devoted 3 hours
Mm-hmm.
to that right to work proposal. Does that indicate that this is now a session priority for Senate?
No, what we wanted to do is just have a hearing. We don't. I wouldn't view it as certainly a priority. It's okay. There's interest around the state of Minnesota. There's interest around this building with respect to that issue, and it's not unlike we did with the Vikings, although that was informational. We had a hearing last December, I think it was December, on the Viking Stadium, and just okay, let's begin to understand all this a little bit better. And that's the same here. What are the pros, what are the cons? I'm sure we'll get a good dose of that on Monday.
The committee will vote.
Pardon me?
Committee will vote.
That's up to committee, insofar as I believe that they will. I suspect, but the committee runs the committee.
Are you both meeting with the governor later this afternoon, or is that just these people?
I am, and I think it's 11 o'clock. I'm not sure if the speaker is.
And the topic is stadium, or?
Thankfully, Jake's not here today as a Hill Murray graduate. He wasn't going to get any questions today. He commiserated with my Maple Grove Crimson's first trip to the state hockey tournament and then being excused in the first game. So we commiserated about Maple Grove's hockey program.
You talked about the stadium?
Yes, we did.
What are you talking about?
Stadium.
The Southwest Light Rail people are doing a tour today, a bus tour down the central border of the Southwest Rail route. Where are you on that? Originally, your response to the bonding bill was that it's not a priority, it's not something. Is that kind of where you are now?
Sure. I think what we have said consistently, and I would never speak, the bonding chair in the Senate is here out of school, but we've got a lot of things that need to be fixed up or repaired to maintain their integrity and to keep them viable for another 10 years or 20 years. I think repair and fix up and sustain is a far bigger priority for us right now than adding to our burden. And I was a little bit of a latecomer to transit, but I am a huge advocate now for bus rapid transit. Maple Grove has one of the most successful in the metro area. That is a good use. We don't have to add a whole bunch of new rail line, or it would help maybe have us finish the 494 up to 3 lanes all around. But I think that is probably one of the best and most used. It is by far and away the most popular transit up in Maple Grove and in Eden Prairie. I mean, you look at the Eden Prairie facility, it's absolutely packed every morning you go in. So there's good transit there that is being used, that is being adapted, and as kind of stubborn Midwesterners that don't like to give up control of our car, to see that kind of progress being made there, I think that's the solution we should stick with because it's working instead of adding another burden and adding a tremendous amount of expense, whether it's $1 billion or $2 billion to build this line. I think what we've got is working really well, and as far as what we're going to use for a bonding bill, it should be to fix, repair, or replace something that is either broken down or is in disrepair.
Did you make any progress on the stadium when you met with the governor?
I think it was a constructive conversation. How about that?
Was he asking for your support, or?
We agreed that until he had a chance to meet with all leaders, that he wasn't going to discuss anything publicly. I'm going to abide by that agreement.
Bill